Hello and welcome to this webinar. The title is called Welcome to Acsenda, and it is a webinar to give you more information about what to expect when you're coming to school. So we'll go through this slide by slide and hopefully this helps you. If you have looked at our website or you've researched about us, you know that Acsenda School of Management is an international business management and leadership institution that offers undergraduate programs. By this time, I think most of you have picked the program of study. And if you haven't, please just check out our website and you see the programs that you could study. We are individual international thinking and individual focus. So we focus on students. We have small classroom sizes where we have about 25 to 30 people in a class, and we try as much as possible to give that one-on-one attention, and that's something that makes us very unique. This is an outline of what we'll talk about. We'll talk about life in Canada, we'll talk about health, academics, immigration, and the student checklist. Life in Canada. What does that mean? Or life in Vancouver? For some of you, this is the first time you're leaving home, you're leaving family, you're leaving friends, you're leaving everything you know to come to a strange land where you probably do not know anyone. But the good thing about Vancouver is it's exciting, it's vibrant, it's a multicultural city, and there chances that you're going to meet somebody from the same nationality as yourself is very high. We're located on the west coast of Canada, and the temperature in Vancouver compared to the rest of Canada is really, really good. And there are a lot of fun things to do here. We can go to art galleries, you can go to museums, you can hike, just a lot of things. In 2010, they had the Winter Olympics in Vancouver. That's just to tell you how beautiful Vancouver is. So it's beautiful. There are a lot of parks. You can go relax. You can run. It's a really beautiful city. And with that being said, we have four different climates, distinct seasons here. Sorry, not climate, seasons. We have four distinct seasons. We have spring, summer, fall, and winter. As you can see, this is more detailed depending on when you come. So for some of you planning to come in December, it is cold. It's not as bad. Like I said, compared to the rest of Canada, Vancouver isn't as cold. The temperature will be about -5 to 7 degrees Celsius. But one thing you have to note is there is going to be a change in climate. If you're coming from really hot regions, it's going to be a sharp change for you. So as much as possible, we advise that you dress appropriately. You get really warm fuzzy boots, you layer up, you get head warmers, gloves, anything to keep you warm. And if you come in the next term, you come if in April, let's say you start in April, it's getting warmer. It's spring, so it's warm. Start to see spring flowers. It's beautiful. And summer, it's hot. And fall, the leaves start to fall. It's hot, but not as hot. But one thing common to all the seasons is rain. It rains a lot here. So we advise that you get your umbrellas out, you get rain boots, just anything to help you, just enjoy the rain. So it's something that you eventually get used to. You might complain at first, but later you just realize that hey, the rain is part of life in this region. This slide shows the estimated cost of living in Vancouver. This is just to prepare you on, how much will I be spending a month? How much do I keep? For what type of work will I be doing to get enough money to keep me in school and also to sustain my bills? You pay things like rent, transportation, entertainment, food, data, medical costs, textbooks. So I'll be talking about some of these costs, like your textbooks, your medical costs, and transportation. I'll be talking more on that. Housing. From the previous slide, we saw that the estimates of rent, the amount of money you will pay from 900 to $1,500, depending on the type of apartment you're staying, depending on the type of house you're renting. If you choose to live alone in a one-bedroom apartment, it'll be expensive. Or if you're coming here with your family and you decide to get a house, a two-bedroom, a three-bedroom, it'll also be expensive. If you decide to share a house with somebody, it's cheaper. So we just advise that you look for what works best for you. Um, and a good thing about our campus is it's centrally located in downtown Vancouver. So when you're searching for a house, you don't have to search for something 5 minutes away from school or 10 minutes away from school. A lot of people here commute. They come from 40 minutes away. It takes some people from 40 minutes to an hour of commuting time to get to work. So it's not, you don't have to live really close. And living downtown here is expensive compared to the rest of the greater Vancouver region. So I advise you, when you're house searching, don't really consider the distance. The thing you should consider when house searching is this place accessible? Can you get, how long will it take you to get to the nearest SkyTrain? So that's something that I will advise you to do. And if you want more detail on how to look for a house, we have our pre-arrival handbook that is available for you to go through. And there you know your rights as a renter and detailed way to search for housing. This slide shows some websites that look you can go to look for housing. But one thing I like to say is this disclaimer that you have to be careful whenever you're doing this because there are scammers out there. There are people, it's not 100% safe. So you have to be wise and be cautious even as you continue your house search. Like I said about scammers, there are some tips that you should avoid, some things that you should look out for when renting. If these things come up, then it is a red flag. Chances are the house is fake, it's a scam, and they want to take your money. So if you have to check the rental rates in the same area. Let's say you see a one bedroom downtown for $500. Chances are that is fake. It's a scam. So you have to check around. To rent a house downtown is about 2,000, 2,500 for one bedroom. And if you see something for 500, then that's sketchy. Are they asking you to wire money? Are they asking you for personal information that you're not supposed to be providing? That is sketchy. The next slide, this slide is just more resources that can help you with your house search and getting acquainted with housing. The next thing we'll talk about is health insurance. Like every insurance, it's our policy here at ASM that every student is covered medically. And in British Columbia, the public sector has something called the Medical Service Plan. That is called the MSP. So it's a provincial insurance. But for you to be covered by that, you have to have lived in British Columbia for over 90 days. That's about 3 months. And since there's a lag time, we don't want you to be here for 90 days without insurance. What you do now is you have to re-enroll you in something called GuardMe. GuardMe is a temporary private insurance that covers you until you're able to get your MSP. And the cost of that is 75. The cost of the MSP is $75 every month. And the cost of GuardMe, I think, is about $100 a semester or $200 for 3 terms, and this will be included in your tuition, so you don't have to worry about that. It's not something you have to pay out of pocket from. Vaccination record. So people who come to Canada from different parts of the world, they might be susceptible to some vaccine preventable diseases because it could be they weren't vaccinated at home, or the vaccines used at home wasn't as effective. So, and maybe their immunization records do not exist. So the government of Canada has advised that newcomers, it's recommended that they take these vaccines. It's recommended for them to take these vaccinations before they get here, or while they get here, or while they're here. And if you're here, or while you're coming along, we advise that you bring any vaccination records you have. Let's say you were vaccinated as a child against measles or polio or hepatitis or any of them. We just advise that you bring that with you as you come along. The next thing we'll talk about is immigration and preparing your documents. Again, the purpose of this webinar is not to teach you how to apply for study permits. It's just to tell you these are things that you need to do before you get here. When you receive your letter of admission or letter of acceptance from the school, then you start applying for your study permits. We advise that you do this before, at least 6 months before, because depending on the country you are in, there are different processing times. And these are the documents that you will be needing as at now for study permit application. Again, our advice that you refer to the IRCC website, because this information keeps changing and it is your responsibility to be updated and stay informed. Another thing you need to apply for is your temporary resident visa, or TRV for short. So what's the sum? You might be asking, what's the difference between a study permit and a visa? A visa is something that lets you get into Canada, and your study permit is something that allows you to stay in Canada. Again, you need to apply, you need to have your visa before entering Canada. So the next thing we'll talk about is English placement tests. So for some of you on your letter of acceptance, you might have seen something like you've been placed in EAP 090 or EAP 100 or your direct entry, and you might not really understand what it is. So that was based on your IELTS. If you did this remotely, you submitted an IELTS. And an IELTS is just an English proficiency test to see your level of English. If you scored in your IELTS, if you scored an overall band of 5.5 with no band less than 5, you'll be placed in EAP 090. If you scored an IELTS, if you had an IELTS of 6.0 with no band less than 5.5, you'll be placed in EAP 100. And if your overall IELTS score was 6.6 with no band less than 6, you'll be placed in EAP 100. So what is this EAP? So the EAP is a bridging course that helps you improve your English, improves your writing skill to prepare you for the journey ahead. So we have something also called the EPT tests. So let's say you don't really like the level of English you're placed in and you want to check your proficiency again. You can always take the EPT test here on campus. The RST, the remote screening test, is an equivalent of the EPT, but it's done remotely via Skype or FaceTime or anything that works for the examiner and yourself. If you need more information about this, please contact the admissions office and they would direct you. Textbooks. So we just talked about EAP 90, EAP 100, and English 101. These are all English courses. If you're taking these courses or any of these courses, the cost of your textbook is included in your fee. That is for these classes. And if you're taking any other class, you're required to buy your own textbook. And this can range from $100 to $300 per term. Some students buy used textbooks. So if you join our Facebook group, you can see people selling their textbooks, and it's something you want to look out for. This slide is important for people who have had a degree before. Let's say you go to school, you've gone to university before. There are possibilities of you transferring the courses that you've studied, some of the courses that you've studied here. And for those people, you need an official transcript, that is sealed from the university. So either the university has to send it to us, or you bring it in a sealed envelope with the university seal on it. So if you think that you want to transfer your credits, I advise that when you get your letter of acceptance, you should start that process of sending your transcript or letting the admissions officer or your agent know that I've gone to school before, I have some courses, and I would like to transfer them. And if you're just straight out of high school, you also need a transcript. So remember to bring your transcript, your official transcript, while coming to school. So this is the general checklist, some things you should just think about before you come, or make sure you have. Make sure you've applied for your study permits and you have been approved. I just want you to note that you wouldn't get a physical copy of your study permits back in your home country, but you would get a confirmation saying you have been approved for your study permit. So make sure you bring that confirmation of study permit approval here. You also will need a passport, an international passport. You need, like I said, the study permit authorization letter. You need a letter of acceptance from us saying you've been accepted into the university. You need a TRV. Your study permits will be given to you physically at the airport when you go through immigrations. We also advise that you plan your trip. How do you intend to get to your location? Are you going to use a cab, a taxi? Are you going to use the bus or the trains? How do you plan on getting home? Where are you going to stay? So make sure you also have your housing covered before getting here. Like I said, when you arrive, make sure you collect your study permits. And it's okay if it says your study permits will expire before your time in school finishes. The good thing is if you meet all the conditions, you can apply to renew your study permit. And after you arrive here in Canada, get your social insurance number. This will allow you to work. This will allow you to open a bank account and just exist here in Canada. So make sure you have that. Before you start working, make sure your study permit says you're allowed to work off campus. Then once you arrive, you should also apply for your medical service plan, which will take effect after 90 days. Open a bank account, get a BC ID so you don't have to carry your passport around, because a lot of places you go, they need a piece of government ID. So that's all from us. We're really looking forward to seeing you. If you have any questions, please email us, call, and we'll be really happy to answer you. Thank you so much for your time, and see you in Vancouver.